This is one of my favorite times of the year, time to start the garden. Of course, we've already been gardening a little bit. We have a spring garden, you know, those spring veggies that are frost hardy, that can stand a little frost. We have those and we've been enjoying them. Of course, we've started our seedlings in the greenhouse several weeks back, over a month ago, I guess now. So we've kind of been gardening, but right now this is the time, the 1st of May, when we know that frost is most likely gone until next fall. There might be a late frost. Last year was an unusually late frost, but most of the time in my area, by the 1st or 2nd week in May, you know you're safe to plant those frost tender plants like squash and cucumbers and even your tomatoes and peppers. We usually wait a little bit longer for them, but this is the time of the year that the hard work really starts, but it's really also, it's like the rewarding work. You know, growing a garden is so rewarding, being able to grow your own food and feed your family and put up that harvest. There's just such a joy to growing your own food. Let's get on this. We'll get on either side. I'll start down there. One of the main staples of our garden is beans. We love green beans, so we grow a lot of them. We put them up. I grew up in a family that grew a lot of green beans and put up a lot of green beans, and that was one of our main things that we ate throughout the year. Granny kind of used to have a contest with herself every year, how many jars of green beans she can. She tried to outdo herself the next year. But our favorite bean to grow, we really like greasy back beans. So greasy beans, you'll hear them called sometimes. So we save our seed for those. So we have those, and we love to plant those. They're a pole bean that grows, you know, you have to have something, a trellis or a wire or something for them to grow on. We used to do it, we used to use seagrass twine and kind of make 2 rows and then loop string over it to give it a structure for the beans to grow on. That was how Pap did his, and he taught us to do it that way. But last year, for the first time, we used cattle panels with T-post, and that worked so much better that I know we'll do that from now on. And it makes me wish I could tell Pap about them, you know, and maybe he knew about them, but I don't think so. He just did what he had always done with using the seagrass twine and the string. But anyway, that worked so well, I know that we'll continue to do that. So the greasy beans, you have to have something to support them because they are climbing a pole bean, as they would say. And the actual bean pod has like a little sheen that almost looks like somebody's rubbed a little bit of grease on it. So that's hence the name, greasy back beans. So those are our favorite to grow. We also grow, this is a bush variety, so they don't need any kind of support. This is a Yance bean. So we got this bean seed from one of our dear friends, Brian Lambert, and lives in the Junaluska area of Cherokee County, and it has been passed down in his family for generations. And it's a really good bean, and I like it. It's a bush bean that, some bush beans, like peanut beans, they produce once and that's kind of it. This Yance bean will keep producing. Like, you might get 3 pickings out of it, even though they're bush beans. So I really like it, and it's a large bean that almost has like when you cook it, almost makes its own broth. It's just a really hearty bean, and I love knowing that it was passed down in Brian's family and that he shared it with us. You know, that just makes it more special to me. This is some beans I've never grown before, but someone sent them to me. Nice person sent me they're turkey crawl beans, so I'm going to try them this year. I've never tried them before, so we're going to try those. And then last year, Granny, one of her friends, told her that she grew rattlesnake beans for the first time, and she just thought they was the best beans ever that she'd ever had. So I've got some rattlesnake beans that we're going to try this year for the first time. Granny wants to try them. So, and then we have some other bush beans and that we'll plant in various places. But mostly the greasy beans are our favorite and makes up the majority of what we can and what we put up. As I said, green beans were like a staple food for my family growing up. I think that was a common thing throughout Appalachia. You think about canning green beans. Of course, you eat them fresh. They're so good fresh. But canning green beans and then drying beans to make leather breeches, or shucky beans, some people call them. So it was just something, a real way to produce a lot of food in the garden, because green beans are they're pretty easy to grow no matter where you live or what kind of soil you have. They're not picky about it. And it was a way to produce a lot of food for putting up for the winter months. Also, of course, you can make pickles out of beans, pickled beans and corn. Papa Tony does that. But various ways to preserve them for future use. So that made them a big plus to grow in the garden. And I have such great fond memories of growing stuff in the garden with Pap and Granny, and the camaraderie that you share as a family as you're growing your food to feed your family, and being out in the fresh outdoors and the sunshine and the hot sun as the summer goes on. But that joy of seeing the things that you planted over the course of the summer, you know, grow and prosper, and even the ones, you know, we've had years, of course, where maybe a crow or something pulled the corn up. Even those things, you kind of share in that. Since you did it together as a family, you share in that misery, or share in I guess you share in the good times and the bad times when something goes wrong, like that late frost last summer or last spring that really got a lot of people. Anyway, but over the years, I've collected a lot of folklore about gardening. So these folklore right here is specifically about beans, but I'm going to read them to you. So when planting beans, press the soil with boot for good luck. And we always do this one just to kind of tap it in. And I used to love, I don't even know how old I was when I noticed at some point that I would notice that Pap did that with a lot of things he planted, and I would notice his boot prints, and I just, even at a young age, I liked seeing those boot prints. It was kind of like a stamp of job well done, this job is finished. This one's kind of funny. Plant beans in the middle of the day for a better yield. We might have done that on accident sometime, but we sure never followed that one, but that was one I found. Beans planted on dark nights will grow the best crops. So I don't know if that means literally a dark night, because that'd be hard to see, or if that's like talking about the moon phase. Plant beans early in the morning if you want to have the crop come in earlier in the season. I'm sure we've done that one because we like to get up early and get started but we didn't do it on purpose. Plant beans when the elm leaves are as big as a penny. Beans planted during a leap year will produce more than usual. Let's see, we just had a leap year. Was that last year or the year before? I should have paid attention to see if that one was true. Putting bean holes in the path will make vines grow profusely. Okay, so I guess it would maybe enrich the soil. Plant beans in new ground or under a tree and there won't be any bugs on the vines. Well, I've planted beans a lot of times in new ground and I'm pretty sure they still had bugs. I don't know how they do under a tree if they didn't get much sunshine. Beans planted on the full of the moon will begin bearing at the ground and bear all the way up. Plant beans on a full moon in April. That might be a little too early for us here where we live, worrying about those frosts, you know. If beans are planted on Good Friday, they will grow well. That would mostly every year be too early for us here. Plant cornfield beans from June 1st to the 4th Saturday in June. Granny's, that's the bean that Granny likes the best, is cornfield beans, and she saves hers every year to plant for the next year, and that's her favorite bean. When I was growing up, her favorite bean to grow and what her and Pap grew was just a white half runner. That's a really popular bean in my part of Appalachia. Beans should not be cultivated during the dog days as the beans will all drop off. So I don't know how I don't know, you couldn't just leave them. I don't know about that one. It is bad luck to give bean seed away. I hope not. I don't think that one's true because, as I said, our good friend Brian shared our Yount's bean seed with us, and we do pretty good, so I don't think we've had any bad luck. Most of that folklore come from the Frank C. Brown collection of North Carolina folklore, which is always interesting to look at.
There you go. I played it for you in 2 different keys. I thought it was appropriate while we were planting to play a little song called Little Burnt Potato. And now I'll play another song about a potato. Song about a potato. Little burnt potato, grasshopper sitting on a sweet potato vine. Do I know anything else about a potato? Because them are some good songs.
I hope you enjoyed coming along with us as we planted beans. We had a great day fellowshipping one with another, a lot of fun, and we got a lot of good work done. You know, it always makes you feel rewarding, or it does me feel satisfied to know that you got a full day's work in. And we're all excited about those new varieties we're trying. We're excited though about the tried and true ones like the greasy beans that we always grow. I can look ahead to thinking about harvesting them and eating them fresh, but also putting them in jars so that we'll have them to eat next winter. So I hope that you'll share your favorite varieties. What's the bean that you grow every year? Do you like green beans? Do you grow pole beans or bush beans? I hope you'll share that with me, but mostly I just hope you'll drop back by often as I celebrate Appalachia.